Miranda Chen stood in her corner office on the 47th floor, surveying the Manhattan skyline with the detached authority of someone who'd conquered it. At 38, she was the youngest woman to helm a Fortune 500 tech company, a fact that magazines loved to mention alongside adjectives like ruthless, brilliant, and unapproachable. She preferred the last one. Distance was power. "Miss Chen, here are the quarterly reports you requested." The voice was soft, almost apologetic. Miranda didn't turn around. "Leave them on the desk, Amelia." She caught the reflection in the window, a slight woman with mousy brown hair pulled into a severe bun, glasses that seemed too large for her delicate face, and a gray cardigan that had seen better days. Amelia Foster had been her executive assistant for 18 months, and Miranda could count on one hand the number of times she'd actually looked at her directly. "Will there be anything else?" Amelia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "No, close the door on your way out." But Amelia hesitated, shifting her weight from foot to foot. Miranda's jaw tightened. She hated hesitation. "What is it?" Miranda's tone could have frozen water. The gala invitations for next month. You asked me to finalize the list." Miranda finally turned, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. "And it's complete. 247 confirmed attendees. The mayor, several city council members, tech industry leaders, and I don't need the rundown, Amelia. I need you to send them out." "Of course." "I'm sorry." Amelia clutched the tablet to her chest like a shield and hurried toward the door. Miranda watched her go, then smirked. The annual Chen Industries Charity Gala was the social event of the season, a who's who of New York's elite, all gathered to see and be seen while pretending to care about whatever cause Miranda had selected this year. Environmental technology, she thought. Very on-brand. Her phone buzzed. A text from Victoria Ashford, her closest thing to a friend. Though Miranda suspected Victoria collected powerful acquaintances the way some people collected art. "Darling, tell me the gala will be interesting this year." Last year was deadly boring. Miranda's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Victoria thrived on drama, on social experiments that treated people like chess pieces. They'd met at Harvard Business School, two ambitious women who recognized in each other a similar lack of sentimentality. Where Miranda channeled it into business, Victoria turned it into entertainment. An idea formed terrible and irresistible. "What if I told you I'm bringing a date?" The response came immediately. "You? A date? Stop. Who?" Miranda glanced at the door Amelia had just exited through. The woman was practically invisible, someone who existed in the background of her life like furniture. She knew nothing about her beyond her impeccable work ethic and irritating timidity. "My assistant." Her phone rang instantly. Victoria didn't text when she could perform. "You cannot be serious." Victoria's voice dripped with delight. "Little mouse Amelia? I've seen her scurrying around your office. She dresses like she shops at a thrift store for librarians." "Exactly." "Oh, this is delicious." "What's the angle? Building up an underdog story for the press? Showing what a benevolent boss you are?" Miranda sat at her desk, a slow smile spreading across her face. "Nothing so altruistic. I'm simply curious what would happen if I dragged someone so far out of their depth. It'll be amusing watching her try to navigate a room full of people who spend more on shoes than she makes in a month." Victoria's laughter was bright and sharp. "You're terrible." "I love it." "But won't she just decline?" "She won't dare. I'm her boss." "Darling, that's practically cruel." "Is it?" Miranda examined her manicured nails. "I'm giving her an opportunity. What she does with it is up to her." After they hung up, Miranda sat in the silence of her office, the city glittering below her like a circuit board. She told herself this was harmless, a momentary diversion in her carefully structured life. She didn't examine too closely why the idea excited her, or why she'd thought of Amelia Foster at all. The next morning, Miranda arrived at 6 a.m. as usual, beating even the cleaning staff. She liked these quiet hours when the building belonged to her alone, before it filled with the ambient noise of ambition and anxiety that characterized modern corporate life. By 8 a.m., she'd already torn apart 3 departments, presentations, and scheduled a restructuring meeting that would have half the executive team sweating. She was in her element, sharp, focused, untouchable. "Good morning, Miss Chen." Amelia appeared like clockwork at 8:30. carrying the overpriced coffee Miranda favored from the shop 12 blocks away. The woman woke up early to get it fresh, walked rather than expensed a car service, and never complained. It was the kind of dedication Miranda relied on and never acknowledged. "Amelia, sit." The command clearly startled her. Amelia's eyes widened behind her glasses green. Miranda noticed for the first time a clear pale green like sea glass. "Is something wrong? Did I make an error and sit?" Miranda repeated, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. Amelia perched on the edge, her body language screaming discomfort. She still clutched her own coffee, some basic, drip from the break room and her tablet like talismans. Miranda let the silence stretch, watching Amelia's growing nervousness with detached interest. Finally, she spoke. "The gala next month. You'll attend as my guest." Amelia blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me. You'll attend as my +1. I'll have a dress sent to your apartment. Someone will come by the day to handle hair and makeup. A car will collect you at 6 p.m. I don't understand." Amelia's voice trembled slightly. "Why would you want me to? Does it matter?" Miranda's tone was cool. "Consider it part of your job responsibilities. You're always saying you want to understand the business better, network with industry leaders. Here's your chance." The lie was smooth, practiced. Amelia's file said she'd mentioned wanting to advance her career during her last review, a review Miranda hadn't actually attended. Leaving it to HR. "Miss Chen, I appreciate the offer, but I don't think I'm the right person for Amelia." Miranda leaned forward, her dark eyes locking onto Amelia's. "I'm not asking. This is important to me. I need someone there I can trust, someone who knows how I work. Everyone else will be busy networking, drinking too much, playing politics. I need an ally." It was manipulation, pure and simple, and Miranda felt only the faintest twinge of something that might have been guilt. She watched Amelia's resistance crumble in real time, saw the moment the woman convinced herself this was somehow professional, necessary. "Okay," Amelia whispered. "If you really need me there, I'll go." "Good, we'll discuss details later." That's all. Amelia stood, legs unsteady, and walked toward the door. She paused with her hand on the handle. "Miss Chen? Thank you for thinking of me." After she left, Miranda stared at the space where she'd been, that strange feeling intensifying. It felt uncomfortably like shame, but she pushed it down with the ease of long practice. This was just a game, she told herself. Harmless entertainment. She didn't let herself wonder why. Amelia's gratitude felt worse than her fear. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of work, but Miranda found her attention snagging on unusual details. The way Amelia took her coffee with too much cream and not enough sugar. How she hummed quietly while organizing files, songs Miranda didn't recognize but found herself straining to hear. The fact that she stayed late every night, long after she was required to. Making sure everything was perfect for the next day. Miranda told herself this heightened awareness was practical. She needed to understand her subject if this experiment was going to be interesting. She didn't examine why she sometimes found herself manufacturing reasons to call Amelia into her office just to watch her nervous energy. The way she tucked invisible strands of hair behind her ear. The small smile she gave when she thought no one was looking. Victoria texted her regularly, demanding updates. Has she figured out it's a setup? Has she tried to back out? You're sure she actually come? Miranda assured her that everything was proceeding as planned, but privately she felt an unfamiliar uncertainty. There were moments, brief flashes, when she caught herself hoping Amelia would surprise her, would somehow rise to the occasion rather than flounder. She hated those moments. They suggested investment, and Miranda Chen didn't invest in people emotionally. That was a vulnerability she couldn't afford. The dress arrived at Amelia's apartment exactly as promised. A custom creation from a designer whose waiting list was typically 2 years long. Miranda had called in a favor, describing her assistant with surprising detail, her height, her frame, her coloring. Something that will shock people, Miranda had said. Something no one would expect her to wear. The designer had laughed knowingly, and Miranda had felt that twinge again. Sharper this time. On Thursday, 3 days before the gala, Amelia knocked on her door with unusual determination. "Come in." Amelia entered, and for once her shoulders were straight, her chin up. "Miss Chen, I need to say something." Miranda raised an eyebrow. Go ahead. I know what this is. Amelia's voice was steady, her green eyes direct. I'm not stupid, despite what you might think. I know I'm not your first choice for a gala date. I know I don't fit in your world. But I want you to know that I'm going to do my best not to embarrass you. This job has been important to me. So whatever reason you have for asking me, I'm going to show up and represent you well. The speech clearly cost her. Color flooded her cheeks and her hands trembled slightly, but she held Miranda's gaze. Something shifted in that moment. Miranda felt the carefully constructed scenario begin to crack, felt something genuine and uncomfortable pushing through. She had expected compliance, even resignation. She hadn't expected dignity. Amelia, she started, then stopped, unsure what she'd meant to say. It's okay, Miss Chen, you don't need to explain. I'll see you Saturday. After she left, Miranda sat very still. The city noise filtered up through the insulated glass car horns. Sirens, the ambient sound of millions of lives intersecting and diverging. She felt suddenly, crushingly alone, and for the first time in years. She didn't like it. She picked up her phone and texted Victoria. I'm calling it off. What? Why? Don't be boring, Miranda. It was a stupid idea. You're not getting soft on me, are you? It's just a party. She probably won't even clean up that well. You'll have your laugh and life goes on. Miranda stared at the message, then put her phone face down on the desk. She didn't respond. That night, she barely slept, her mind churning through justifications and rationalizations. She told herself Amelia was an adult who'd agreed to attend. She told herself it was just one evening. She told herself she was overthinking a simple social event. She didn't let herself acknowledge that she was terrified not of the prank being discovered, but of what it meant that she conceived it in the first place. What it said about the person she'd become in her ruthless climb to the top. Saturday arrived with the inevitability of judgment. Miranda dressed with unusual care, selecting a midnight blue Versace gown that clung to her curves like water. Her dark hair swept into an elegant chignon. Diamond earrings that cost more than most people's cars glittered at her ears. She looked at herself in the mirror, powerful, polished, perfect, and felt hollow. The car arrived at the venue at 6:45. The Metropolitan Museum of Art's Great Hall had been transformed into a glittering wonderland. All crystal chandeliers and white roses, champagne fountains, and discreet string quartets. New York's elite were already gathering, air-kissing, and assessing. Their smiles sharp as knives. Victoria descended on her immediately, resplendent in scarlet. Darling, where's your little mouse? She's arriving separately. The car is collecting her at 6. And you're still going through with it? Miranda opened her mouth to respond, then stopped. Because the room had gone quiet, not completely, but enough that the change in atmosphere was palpable. People were turning toward the entrance, conversations faltering mid-sentence. Miranda turned, and her world tilted. The woman descending the museum's grand staircase wasn't Amelia Foster. Or rather, it was, but transformed so completely that Miranda's carefully maintained composure shattered. The dress Miranda had sent was a deep emerald green, and it hugged curves Miranda hadn't known existed beneath those shapeless cardigans. The neckline was daring but elegant, the fabric catching the light with each movement. But it was more than the dress. Amelia's hair, freed from its usual severe bun, fell in soft waves past her shoulders, darker than Miranda had realized, with hints of auburn catching the light. Her skin glowed, makeup applied with an expert hand that enhanced rather than masked. But most startling were her eyes, no longer hidden behind those oversized glasses. Contact lenses revealed their full impact, that extraordinary pale green, fringed with dark lashes, currently scanning the room with something between terror and determination. She was beautiful. Not conventionally, not in the polished artificial way of the other women in the room, but with an understated grace that made Miranda's breath catch. Oh my God, Victoria whispered beside her. Is that really? But Miranda was already moving, crossing the room with single-minded focus, aware of every eye following her. She reached Amelia at the bottom of the stairs, and for a moment they simply stared at each other. Miss Chen, Amelia said quietly. I hope this is acceptable. Acceptable, Miranda repeated, the word feeling absurd. Amelia, you look different? Amelia's smile was small, uncertain. I borrowed the dress budget to hire a proper stylist. I figured if I was going to represent you, I should at least not look like I got lost on my way to a library convention. The self-deprecating humor was new, as was the faint confidence in her posture. Miranda felt something crack open in her chest, something warm and terrifying. "You look beautiful," she said, and meant it with an intensity that shocked her. Amelia's eyes widened. Thank you." Around them, the room was recovering, conversations resuming with added energy. Miranda could feel the speculation, the interest. She'd meant to create a spectacle, and she'd just not the one she planned. Victoria appeared at her elbow, assessment sharp in her eyes. Well, this is unexpected. You must be Amelia." "I'm Victoria Ashford." "I know who you are, Miss Ashford. I've read your work on venture capital restructuring." "Very insightful." Victoria blinked, clearly not expecting to be recognized, much less complimented with genuine knowledge. "How refreshing." Someone who does their homework. The evening proceeded like a dream or a nightmare. Miranda couldn't decide which. Amelia moved through the crowd with surprising grace, her earlier nervousness giving way to quiet confidence. She asked intelligent questions, offered thoughtful comments, and more than once, Miranda caught industry leaders looking impressed. "Your assistant is remarkable," Harrison Chin, no relation, commented. He ran one of the largest investment firms in the city. "We were just discussing the ethics of AI implementation, and she had fascinating perspectives." "Where did you find her?" "She found me," Miranda said, realizing it was true. Amelia had applied for the position, had fought through 3 rounds of brutal interviews, had earned her place. Miranda had simply been too self-absorbed to notice. At one point, Miranda lost sight of Amelia in the crowd. Panic, irrational and overwhelming, seized her. She found her on one of the museum's balconies, alone, staring out at the city lights. "Needed air?" Miranda asked, joining her. "Needed a moment of truth," Amelia said. She turned, and her eyes were clear, knowing. "You didn't think I'd clean up this well, did you?" Miranda could have lied. Should have lied. Instead, she found herself saying, no. Was it a test? Or a joke? Amelia's voice was gentle, without accusation, which somehow made it worse. "I don't know anymore," Miranda admitted. I don't know what it started as. Cruel curiosity, maybe. Boredom. Victoria suggested. She stopped. Blaming Victoria would be cowardice. "You wanted to watch me fail," Amelia said simply. Yes. The admission hung between them. Miranda waited for anger, for hurt, for the righteous indignation she deserved. Instead, Amelia smiled, sad and knowing. "I figured it was something like that. You're not as subtle as you think, Miss Chen. I've watched you for 18 months. I've seen how you look at people, or rather, how you don't look at them. We're all just pieces on your board, aren't we?" That's not, but Miranda couldn't finish, because it was true, wasn't it? Or it had been. "The funny thing is," Amelia continued, "I came tonight anyway. I knew it was probably a setup, but I thought maybe, just maybe, if I showed up and did well, you'd finally see me. Really see me. Not just the scared assistant who brings her coffee, but the person I actually am." "I see you now," Miranda whispered. "Do you?" Amelia's eyes searched hers. "Or do you just see someone who managed to surprise you? Someone who turned out to be a better toy than expected?" The words cut deep because they were fair, because Miranda didn't have an answer. She'd spent so long insulating herself, treating emotions as weaknesses to be eliminated, that she didn't know how to navigate this someone looking at her with clear eyes and still somehow not hating her. "I'm sorry," Miranda said. The words felt rusty, unfamiliar. "You deserved better." "You deserve better." "Yes," Amelia agreed. "I do." She moved toward the door, then paused. "For what it's worth, Miss Chen, I understand why you are the way you are. I've read the interviews, the profiles. I know what you had to do to get where you are. But somewhere along the way, you forgot that the people around you are fighting their own battles too. We're not NPCs in your game. We're real." She left Miranda alone on the balcony. The city spread below like a promise or a threat. Miranda didn't follow her immediately. She stood in the cold night air, her designer dress suddenly feeling like a costume, her carefully constructed identity crumbling like paper in rain. When she finally returned to the party, Amelia was gone. Miranda made her excuses and left early first for her, the subject of immediate gossip. She didn't care about at home. She poured herself expensive scotch she didn't taste and sat in her designer furniture, surrounded by expensive art she'd bought because consultants said it was what successful people owned. She felt like a stranger in her own life. Her phone buzzed. Victoria. What happened? You left. Scandal. But seriously, your assistant cleaned up very well. Everyone's talking about her. Where did you find that diamond in the rough? Miranda didn't respond. She opened her laptop instead and for the first time actually read Amelia Foster's file. Really read it. Graduated summa cum laude from Columbia. Master's in Business Administration. Published research on sustainable business practices. 3 languages. Volunteer work at women's shelters on weekends. References that used words like brilliant, compassionate, dedicated. She'd had all this information for 18 months and never once looked at it. Had never bothered to know the woman who organized her life. Anticipated her needs, worked tirelessly to make her successful. At 2 a.m. She found herself composing an email. Amelia. I don't know if you'll read this or if you should. I don't know if I have the right to explain or apologize. But I need you to know that you were right about all of it. I didn't invite you as some kind of cruel experiment. I thought it would be entertaining to watch you struggle in a world I assumed you didn't belong in. I was wrong. Not just wrong, cruel, and arrogant. And deliberately blind, you handled yourself tonight with more grace than I've shown in my entire career. You impressed people I've been trying to impress for years. More than that, you showed me who I've become, and I don't like what I see. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I see you now, really see you, and I'm sorry it took something so ugly from me to make that happen. If you choose not to return to work, I'll understand and provide whatever references and severance you need. But I hope you'll stay because I need someone like you around, someone who sees clearly, who hasn't lost touch with being human, someone who reminds me that I don't have to be a monster to be successful. Miranda. She sent it before she could second-guess herself. Then waited through the longest hours of her life. Miranda arrived at the office at 6 a.m. as usual, but nothing felt usual. She'd barely slept all weekend, checking her email compulsively, getting no response from Amelia. She'd prepared herself for an empty desk, a curt resignation. Justified anger. At 8:30 exactly. The elevator doors opened. Amelia walked in wearing her usual attire, a modest dress, a cardigan, comfortable flats. Her hair was back in its bun, her glasses back in place. She looked exactly as she always had. As if Saturday night had been a dream, she carried Miranda's coffee from 12 blocks away. Good morning, Miss Chen. Miranda stood, unable to read her expression. Amelia, I didn't think I wasn't sure you sent me a 3 a.m. email that was actually honest, Amelia said. First genuine thing you've said to me in 18 months. I figured that deserved at least a conversation. She set the coffee down and finally met Miranda's eyes. I'm not going to lie and say it didn't hurt. It did. But I'm also not going to pretend I don't need this job or that I'm ready to give up on you yet. Why not? Miranda asked. Why would you stay after what I did? Amelia sat in the chair across from her, not perched nervously on the edge this time, but settled, certain. Because everyone deserves a chance to be better. Because I've seen flashes of who you could be when you're not performing for the world. And because... She paused, seeming to gather courage. Because I think maybe you need someone who won't let you get away with your bullshit. Despite everything, Miranda felt herself smile. Is that what you're going to do? If you'll let me. Amelia leaned forward. But it needs to be different. No more treating me like I'm invisible. No more cruel tests. No more assuming I'm just some mousy assistant who exists to serve you. I'm a person with thoughts and opinions and skills you've been wasting. You're right. I know I am. And if you actually mean that apology, if you actually want to change, then I'll help you. But this is your last chance, Miranda. The use of her first name felt intimate, significant. Miranda nodded slowly. I mean it. I want to change. I want to. She stopped, struggled with words that didn't come naturally. I want to be better. I want to be someone who deserves the loyalty you've shown me. Okay, then. Amelia stood. Let's start over. Hi, I'm Amelia Foster. I'm your executive assistant. And I'm also a person with a master's degree in business administration who would like to actually use her skills instead of just fetching coffee. Miranda stood too, extending her hand. Miranda Chen, I'm a CEO who's apparently forgotten how to be a human being. I could use someone to remind me. They shook hands, and Miranda felt the warmth of Amelia's skin, the firmness of her grip. She didn't let go immediately. Amelia? At the gala, when I said you looked beautiful, I meant it. Not because you surprised me, but because you are. And I'm sorry I never noticed before. Color rose in Amelia's cheeks, but she didn't look away. Well, Thank you. For noticing now. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility and the weight of what had been broken and might be mended. Should we get to work? Amelia finally asked. Actually, Miranda said slowly, I was thinking we could start with breakfast. Not a business meeting, just two people getting to know each other properly. If you'd like. Amelia's smile transformed her face, erasing years of practiced invisibility. I'd like that very much. Miranda Chen had negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. She'd faced down hostile board members, navigated corporate espionage, and rebuilt entire departments from the ground up. But standing in front of her closet trying to decide what to wear on a date with Amelia Foster, she felt like a teenager. This is ridiculous, she muttered, pulling out her fifth outfit option. Too formal. Too casual. Too much like she was trying too hard. Not enough like she was trying it all. Her phone buzzed. A text from Amelia. If you're overthinking your outfit, don't. I'm wearing jeans and I already know you look beautiful in everything. Miranda smiled despite herself and typed back. How did you know? Because I know you. See you at 7. Miranda settled on dark jeans designer, but still jeans and a silk blouse in deep burgundy. Casual but elegant. She left her hair down, applied minimal makeup, and for the first time in years, didn't check herself against the mental image of what a CEO should look like. She checked herself against what someone Amelia might want to spend time with looked like. Instead, the restaurant Amelia had chosen surprised her. Not one of the Michelin-starred establishments Miranda usually frequented, but a small Italian place in the West Village with checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles. The kind of place that valued food and conversation over being seen. Amelia was already there, seated at a corner table, and Miranda's breath caught. She wore those jeans she'd mentioned, paired with a soft green sweater that matched her eyes. Her hair was down, loose waves framing her face. And she was actually reading a physical book while she waited. Sorry I'm late, Miranda said. Sliding into the seat across from her, Amelia looked up and her smile could have lit the city. You're 2 minutes early, actually. I was just early because I was nervous. You were nervous? Miranda, 6 months ago you were my terrifying boss who barely knew I existed. Now we're on a date. Of course I'm nervous. Amelia closed her book Poetry Miranda Noticed by Mary Oliver. Are you nervous? Terrified, Miranda admitted. I've never done this before. Not really. Not with someone who matters. The waiter appeared before Amelia could respond, and they ordered Amelia, choosing for both of them with casual confidence that told Miranda she'd been here before, knew what was good. Miranda found herself relaxing, letting someone else make decisions for once. So, Amelia said when they were alone again, ground rules for tonight. No talk about work. No talk about the company. Tonight we're just two people getting to know each other outside of the office. Agreed? Agreed. Though I should warn you, work is mostly what I know how to talk about. Then I guess you'll have to learn something new. Amelia's eyes sparkled with gentle challenge. Tell me something about yourself that has nothing to do with business. Something real. Miranda took a sip of the wine that had appeared something Italian and robust that Amelia had ordered without consulting the list. She thought about deflecting, about giving some practiced answer. Then she remembered who she was talking to. I'm lonely, she said quietly. I have been for years. I built this perfect life, the company, the penthouse, the reputation, but somewhere along the way I forgot to build anything that actually made me happy. Until recently, I didn't even notice. Amelia reached across the table, her hand covering Miranda's. What changed? You showed up to a gala in a green dress and made me realize I'd been sleepwalking through my own life. That dress was emerald, not green. There's a difference. Amelia's smile softened the correction. But I know what you mean. I was sleepwalking too, in my own way. I'd convinced myself that being invisible was safer than being seen. That if I just worked hard enough, eventually someone would notice. But I was hiding behind that invisibility, using it as an excuse not to take risks. You're not invisible anymore. No, thanks to you, actually. That gala, as awful as the setup was, it forced me to stop hiding. To show up fully as myself and see what happened. The food arrived and it was spectacular. They ate and talked, the conversation flowing easily now that the initial nervousness had passed. Miranda learned that Amelia loved old movies and terrible puns. That she'd grown up in Maine with 2 sisters she was fiercely close to. That she'd come to New York to prove something to herself and had nearly left a dozen times before finding her footing. Why didn't you? Miranda asked. Leave, especially when I was being such a nightmare boss. Amelia considered this, twirling pasta on her fork. Because I saw glimpses of who you could be. Little moments when your guard dropped, the way you'd fight for your employees when clients tried to undervalue them, even though you'd never acknowledge it. The fact that you memorized everyone's coffee orders even though you pretended not to know their names. You were trying so hard to be this untouchable ice queen, but you kept having these moments of humanity breaking through. I wasn't aware I had any humanity left. You did? You do. Amelia set down her fork, her expression serious. Miranda, can I ask you something? Why did you become so closed off? I've read the profiles, the interviews, but they don't really explain it. They just accept it as the price of success. Miranda was quiet for a long moment. Outside, the village hummed with live couples strolling, music drifting from bars, the eternal energy of the city that never sleeps. Inside their small bubble of candlelight, she felt safe enough to be honest. My first year in business, I was 24 and running a startup. I fell in love with my co. She was brilliant, charismatic, and I trusted her completely. We were partners in every sense of the word. Miranda's voice was steady, but her eyes were distant, looking at memories. She embezzled $2 million and nearly destroyed the company. Then she sold company secrets to our biggest competitor. When I confronted her, she laughed and said I'd been too easy, that I'd let emotion make me weak. Miranda, she was right in a way. I had let emotion cloud my judgment. I trusted her because I loved her, not because she'd earned it through her actions. So I rebuilt the company, sold it for 10 times what she'd stolen, and promised myself I'd never make that mistake again. I never let anyone close enough to hurt me. I'd never confused business with personal. But you weren't weak, Amelia said fiercely. She betrayed you. That's not your fault, isn't it? I should have seen the signs. I should have been more careful. Or she should have been a better person. Miranda, what happened to you was terrible, but the lesson you took from it, that being closed off is the only way to be safe, that's just another kind of prison. Miranda met her eyes. I'm starting to understand that. Thanks to you. They talked until the restaurant began to empty, the staff politely not rushing them but clearly ready to close. Miranda paid the bill over Amelia's protests and they stepped out into the cool night air. Walk with me? Amelia asked. They wandered through the village, no destination in mind, their hands finding each other naturally. Miranda couldn't remember the last time she'd walked anywhere without purpose, without a meeting to get to or a schedule to keep. It felt like playing hooky from her own life. Tell me something else, Miranda said. Something I don't know about you. Amelia laughed. There's a lot you don't know about me. Like the fact that I'm a huge science fiction nerd. I've been to 3 Comic Cons. I have strong opinions about the correct order to watch Star Wars movies. I once wrote a 50-page paper on the use of metaphor in Ursula K. Le Guin's work. You're kidding. I'm absolutely serious. I contain multitudes, Miranda Chen. Amelia swung their joined hands. Also, I'm a really good cook. I'm terrified of spiders. And I've been wanting to kiss you again since we left the restaurant. Miranda stopped walking. They were on a quiet street corner, a street lamp casting golden light over them. Then why haven't you? Because I wanted to make sure this was real. Not just residual adrenaline from our conversation at the office. Not just the excitement of something new. I needed to know this is something you actually want. Amelia. Miranda turned to face her fully, both hands now holding hers. I have never been more certain of anything. You scare me, yes, because you make me feel things I've spent years trying to avoid. But I don't want to avoid them anymore. I don't want to avoid you. Amelia kissed her, there on the street corner in the West Village, and it felt like coming home. When they broke apart, she was smiling. Good, because I'm not very good at being avoided. They walked back to where Miranda had parked her car she'd driven herself. No show for tonight, another small rebellion against her usual life. At Amelia's apartment building in Brooklyn, they stood on the steps, neither quite ready to say goodnight. Come up? Amelia asked softly. Just for coffee. Or tea. Or to sit on my couch and keep talking. Miranda knew what she was really asking, not for sex necessarily, but for permission to take the next step, whatever that might be. To trust each other with the vulnerability of private spaces. I'd like that, Miranda said. Amelia's apartment was nothing like Miranda expected. It was small, a one-bedroom and a converted brownstone, but it was warm and lived in a way Miranda's designer penthouse had never been. Books everywhere, plants on every windowsill, art on the walls that looked chosen for love rather than investment value. A couch piled with throw pillows, a kitchen that actually looked used, photographs of family and friends scattered on surfaces. It's not much, Amelia said, suddenly self-conscious. Especially compared to, it's perfect, Miranda interrupted and meant it. It feels like someone actually lives here. My place feels like a hotel. That's because you treat it like one. When was the last time you cooked in your kitchen? I don't think I've ever cooked in my kitchen. That's what delivery and meal services are for. Amelia shook her head, amused. Okay, that's actually tragic. Add that to the list of things we're fixing about your life. She made actual tea, with loose leaves in a ceramic pot, and they curled up on opposite ends of the couch, facing each other. Outside, Brooklyn hummed with late-night energy, sirens and laughter, and the rattle of the subway mixing into the city's eternal symphony. Can I ask you something? Amelia said. And I want you to be honest, always. What do you actually want from this? From us? She held up a hand before Miranda could answer. Because I need to know. I'm not interested in being a secret or an experiment or someone you keep separate from the rest of your life. I've spent too long being invisible. If we're doing this, I need it to be real. Miranda set down her tea, choosing her words carefully. I want everything. I want to take you to dinner without worrying about who sees us. I want to wake up next to you and know what you look like first thing in the morning. I want to introduce you to people as my girlfriend and mean it. I want to build something real with you. Even though it complicates work? Especially because it complicates work. I'm tired of having my life in separate boxes. I'm tired of being one person at the office and another person alone at 3 a.m. wondering why success feels so empty. Miranda moved closer. You asked me earlier what changed. You did. You made me want to be whole instead of fragmented. Amelia was quiet, studying her face. You know, people will talk. They'll say I slept my way to my promotion. They'll question every decision you make about me. Let them talk. You earned your position. Anyone who actually works with you knows that. And what about the power dynamic? You're still my boss, technically. Then I'll talk to the board about restructuring. Make you report to someone else. I don't care, Amelia. We'll figure out the logistics. What I care about is not losing you because I'm too afraid to try. Amelia smiled, that sunrise smile that made Miranda's chest tight. You're really all in on this, aren't you? Completely, terrifyingly, yes. Good. Amelia leaned forward and kissed her, soft and sweet. Because so am I. They talked until 2 a.m., curled together on the couch, trading stories and dreams and fears. Miranda learned that Amelia wanted to write a book someday about sustainable business practices. That she'd been in therapy for 3 years working through anxiety. That her biggest fear was becoming invisible again. Amelia learned that. Miranda played piano but hadn't touched one in years. That she was estranged from her family after they'd tried to take credit for her success. That she sometimes stayed late at the office not because of work but because she didn't know what to do with herself at home. Stay tonight. Amelia whispered when they finally acknowledged how late it was. We don't have to, I just want you here. Miranda stayed. They fell asleep in Amelia's bed, tangled together. And when Miranda woke up to early morning light filtering through unfamiliar curtains, Amelia pressed against her side. She felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Amelia stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Hi. Miranda brushed hair from her face. I should probably go. Let you get ready for work. Or, Amelia said, a mischievous glint in her eye, we could call in sick and spend the day together. When was the last time you took a sick day? I've never taken a sick day. Then you're definitely overdue. Amelia stretched cat-like. Come on, live dangerously. The company won't collapse without you for one day. Miranda thought about her scheduled back-to-back meetings. 3 presentations, a conference call with Tokyo, thought about how none of it mattered as much as this moment. This woman, this chance to choose living over just existing. Okay, she said, and watched Amelia's face light up. But I need to at least email my team. Deal, you handle that while I make breakfast. And fair warning, I'm going to ruin you for hotel living. My pancakes are legendary. The pancakes were, in fact, legendary. Miranda ate 3 and would have eaten more if Amelia hadn't laughingly cut her off. They spent the day doing nothing, walking through Prospect Park, browsing bookstores, getting coffee from a tiny place Amelia loved where the barista knew her order. Simple, normal things that Miranda had forgotten existed. This is what people do. Miranda asked as they sat in the park watching dogs play. Just exist without agenda? Some of us, yes. Welcome to the radical concept of leisure time. I don't know if I'm good at this. You're doing fine, see? You've been agenda-free for 3 whole hours and haven't checked your phone once. Miranda pulled out her phone automatically, then caught Amelia's knowing look and put it away. Okay, point taken. But there might be emergencies. There might be. And your extremely capable team is handling them. Miranda, you've built an incredible company and an amazing team. Part of being a good leader is trusting them to do their jobs without you micromanaging every second. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just weren't listening. Amelia leaned against her shoulder. Can I tell you something? That first year I worked for you, I used to go home and cry sometimes. Not because you were mean exactly, but because you were so obviously brilliant and so obviously miserable, and you couldn't see it. I wanted to shake you and make you understand that success without happiness is just expensive suffering. Why didn't you say something? Would you have listened? Miranda thought about who she'd been 18 months ago, arrogant, closed off, convinced her way was the only way. No, probably not. Exactly. You had to get there yourself. I could just... Amelia paused, searching for words. I could just try to be steady. Be there when you were ready. You waited for me. I did. And I'd do it again. Amelia sat up, meeting her eyes. But Miranda, I need you to promise me something. Promise me you'll keep choosing this choosing to actually live your life instead of just achieving through it. Because I can't watch you disappear back into that cold, lonely version of yourself. I promise, Miranda said, and meant it with everything she had. I don't want to be that person anymore. They stayed in the park until sunset painted the sky in shades of amber and rose. As they walked back to Amelia's apartment, Miranda's phone finally buzzed Victoria. Predictably, I heard through the grapevine that you and your not assistant are now officially an item. Please tell me this means you finally extracted your head from your ass. Miranda showed Amelia the text. And they both laughed. Should I be offended that Victoria's first concern is your head-ass extraction rather than congratulating you on finding happiness? Amelia asked. That's Victoria. Her version of caring is brutal honesty. I can respect that. Amelia took Miranda's phone and typed a response before she could stop her, head successfully extracted. Planning to keep it that way. Amelia Victoria's response came immediately. Oh, I like this one. Don't fuck it up. Chun. The next few weeks were a delicate dance of boundaries and disclosure. They decided to keep things quiet at first, not secretive but private, while they figured out the logistics of restructuring Amelia's reporting line. The board approved the change with minimal questions. Amelia's work spoke for itself, and Miranda's reputation, while cold, had never been dishonest. But privacy in their world was temporary at best. The gossip mill noticed them arriving together, leaving together, the way Miranda actually smiled now during meetings. Victoria, true to form, didn't help. You two are about as subtle as a neon sign, she announced over lunch one day, having inserted herself into their private meal without invitation. Everyone knows. You might as well just confirm it officially. We were planning to. Amelia said calmly, not intimidated by Victoria's force of nature personality. We just wanted to do it on our terms. Fair enough. But, darling, Victoria turned to Miranda. You might want to prepare for the media circus. Ruthless CEO finds love with former assistant? They're going to eat it up. Let them, Miranda said, reaching across the table to take Amelia's hand. I don't care anymore. The official announcement came via a carefully worded statement from Miranda's PR team, followed by a photo Miranda posted on her personal social media, rarity in itself. It was from their day in Prospect Park, Amelia laughing at something off camera. Miranda looking at her with undisguised affection. Golden hour light making everything look dreamlike. The caption was simple. Found something more important than success. The response was, as Victoria predicted, intense. Business publications speculated about ethics and power dynamics. Feminist writers debated whether this was empowering or problematic. The LGBTQ community largely celebrated seeing a high-profile same-sex couple in corporate America. And the gossip sites predictably dug into every detail of both their lives. Through it all, Amelia remained steady, unflappable in a way that made Miranda fall even deeper in love. Does it bother you? Miranda asked one evening as they read through particularly vicious comments on a gossip blog. What they're saying about you? Some of it, Amelia admitted. Nobody likes being called a gold digger or accused of sleeping their way to success. But I know the truth. You know the truth. Everyone who actually works with us knows the truth. The rest is just noise. You're handling this better than I am. That's because I've spent my whole life being underestimated. I'm used to proving people wrong. Amelia closed her laptop decisively. Besides, I have you. That's worth 1,000 terrible think pieces. Miranda pulled her close, breathing in her scent, that floral perfume mixed with something uniquely Amelia. I love you. I don't think I've actually said that yet. You haven't. Amelia's smile was radiant. But I know. You show me every day. Still, hearing it is nice. I love you, Miranda repeated. Wanting to memorize this moment, Amelia in her arms, the city lights twinkling outside. The future stretching ahead full of possibility instead of loneliness. Thank you for seeing me. For waiting. For giving me a chance to be better. Thank you for taking it. Amelia kissed her softly. Now, I believe I promised to teach you how to cook. And you're not getting out of it just because you said you love me. They spent the evening in Miranda's barely used kitchen, Amelia patiently teaching her how to make pasta from scratch. Miranda was terrible at it, flour everywhere, dough sticking to her hands. But she laughed more than she had in years. The annual Chen Industries charity gala had evolved. Where once it had been a rigid, formal affair designed for networking and image management, it had become something warmer, still elegant, still exclusive. But with genuine heart behind it, Miranda stood on the balcony where she'd had her first honest conversation with Amelia, watching the crowd below. The cause this year was scholarship programs for underprivileged students interested in STEM fields, Amelia's idea, implemented with her characteristic thoroughness. There you are. Amelia joined her, stunning in a dress of deep sapphire that made her eyes luminous. Hiding from your own party? Just taking a moment to appreciate how different this feels from last year, when you invited me as a cruel joke? Amelia's tone was teasing rather than bitter. They'd long since made peace with how they'd started. When I thought I was setting up an entertaining disaster and instead destroyed my own carefully constructed prison. Miranda pulled her close. Best mistake I ever made. Below them, the party continued. Victoria was holding court near the champagne fountain, clearly in her element. The team Amelia had built for her new sustainable technology division was clustered together, diverse and brilliant and loyal. Board members chatted with scholarship recipients, the old guard mixing with the future. I have something for you, Miranda said, pulling a small box from her clutch. Amelia's eyes widened. Miranda, it's not what you think. Not yet, anyway. Miranda opened the box to reveal a delicate necklace, a small golden key on a fine chain. Do you remember what you said to me? That I locked myself in a prison of my own making? I remember. You gave me the key to get out. This is my way of saying thank you. And my promise that I'll never lock myself away again. Miranda fastened it around Amelia's neck. You saved my life, Amelia Foster. Not dramatically, not all at once, but steadily, patiently, until I remembered how to be human. Amelia touched the key, her eyes bright with unshed tears. You saved yourself. I just reminded you that you could. Then we saved each other. They kissed, there on the balcony overlooking the glittering crowd, and Miranda felt the last piece of her old self fall away. She was still ambitious, still driven, still brilliant. But now she was also whole. Now she was loved and loving in return. Now she understood that true success wasn't measured in dollars or market share or power over others. It was measured in moments like this, standing with the woman she loved, surrounded by people they'd helped, building something meaningful together. Ready to go back to the party? Amelia asked. Actually, Miranda said, a mischievous smile playing at her lips, I was thinking we could skip out early. Go get that pizza and watch old movies in our pajamas. Miranda Chen, are you suggesting we ditch your own charity gala? Our charity gala? And yes. We put in the work, raised the money, gave the speeches. Now I want to go home with my girlfriend and be delightfully irresponsible. Amelia laughed, that bright, unfettered sound that still made Miranda's heart skip. You know what? Let's do it. But we're taking the leftovers from the kitchen. That caterer makes amazing tiramisu. They slipped out quietly, leaving the party in capable hands, and drove through the city with the windows down despite the cool May air. In Miranda's penthouse, which had slowly transformed, from sterile showcase to actual home under Amelia's influence, they changed into comfortable clothes and ate stolen tiramisu directly from the container. Can I tell you something? Amelia said, curled against Miranda's side on the couch they'd picked out together. Sometimes I still can't believe this is real. That we're real. Believe it. I'm not going anywhere. Good, because I have plans for us. Big plans. Oh, should I be worried? Definitely. I'm thinking we take a vacation. Somewhere without cell service. Somewhere you can't check your email every 5 minutes. That sounds terrifying. That sounds necessary. Amelia poked her gently. When was the last time you took a real vacation? Define real. Not a business trip with one free day tacked on. An actual vacation where you don't work. Miranda thought about it. I don't think I ever have. Then it's definitely time. I'm thinking 2 weeks. Somewhere tropical. I want to see you in a bikini doing absolutely nothing productive. 2 weeks? Amelia, I can't just... Yes, you can. Your team is excellent. The company won't collapse. And you deserve rest. Amelia sat up, serious now. Miranda, I love who you're becoming, but you still work too hard. You still treat rest like a luxury instead of a necessity. Let me take care of you for once. Looking into those clear green eyes, Miranda felt her resistance crumble. Okay, 2 weeks. Somewhere tropical. But I get to plan it. Absolutely not. You'll turn it into an efficiency exercise. I'm planning it, and it's going to be gloriously unstructured. They argued about it playfully. The kind of argument that was really just another way of saying I love you. Outside, the city carried on, millions of lives intersecting and diverging. But here in this moment, in this space they'd built together, Miranda Chen was exactly where she needed to be. She'd spent years building an empire. But she'd built it on sand, impressive from a distance, but ultimately unstable, unable to sustain real human connection. With Amelia, she was learning to build on bedrock instead. To create something lasting not through control and distance, but through vulnerability and trust. It was terrifying. It was messy. It required constantly challenging everything she believed about strength and success and safety. It was also the best thing she'd ever done. I love you, she whispered into Amelia's hair. Thank you for being patient with me. For seeing who I could be even when I couldn't see it myself. I love you too, Amelia murmured. And I'll always see you. All of you. Even the parts you're still afraid to show. They fell asleep like that, tangled together on the couch, the stolen tiramisu forgotten on the coffee table. And when Miranda woke up in the middle of the night and carefully carried Amelia to bed, she looked at the woman sleeping peacefully in her arms and felt nothing but gratitude. Gratitude for that terrible decision to invite her assistant to a gala as a prank. Gratitude for Amelia's strength in showing up anyway. Gratitude for every moment of growth and challenge and love that had followed. The billionaire, CEO who thought she had everything had been empty inside. But the woman she was becoming, the one who was learning to balance ambition with humanity. Success with connection, strength with vulnerability, she was finally. Truly rich. Not in money or power or prestige, but in the things that actually mattered. In love. In partnership. In the small domestic moments, in the grand gestures. In seeing and being seen. In finding home not in a building or a corner office, but in another person's heart.